Duperos y Duperas, what is going on today on Dupe by the River? We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Union and CONCACAF Champions League. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We're also going to talk about some of the interesting news and notes with our Philadelphia Union. Some juicy stuff to be discussed here today. We're also going to go across the pond in your favorite segment, Dupe Across the Pond. We're going to talk about some of the MLS news and notes. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get this started. And done it! Sorry about that. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, first up, if you are watching live from Twitter or from YouTube, thank you so much for hopping in. We really appreciate all the support, and we appreciate you guys tuning in here on a Tuesday night. Make sure, guys, if you are watching live, make sure you are following us on Twitter, Dupe by the River Podcast, and as well, all the Dupe by the River Podcast live portions get put on El Parcero Philly's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. And of course, do not forget, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you want to listen to this later while you're doing your little walk, doing homework, whatever it may be, you guys can make sure you subscribe to it on PSN Radio. All of your favorite Philly Sports Network podcasts are on PSN Radio, wherever you stream your podcasts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I have to introduce my panel of fantastic soccer experts here to discuss everything Philadelphia Union, everything MLS. First up, my man, Mr. Justin Freiberg. Justin, what's going on, baby? How we feeling today?
Can't complain. It's another day in quarantine paradise.
Hey.
a little nicer today. It was a little cloudy, but not too bad of a day weather-wise. A tiny bit windy. Otherwise, it's been a very interesting week in Union.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll talk about, but hey, it's definitely looking up.
Yes, sir.
If we're for the Union faithful, so
it's going to be good for sure, man. Real quick, before I introduce my other panel, I just wanted to, my other host here, I just wanted to introduce everyone to Zach Laboso. He is our brand new writer at PSN. He actually just commented here, Dupe friend. So, Zach, thank you so much for this, for the support. We're now in his second week now, and he already put out an article, so make sure you guys check that out. But Zach, thank you. Two articles. We got two articles. Zach is already killing it. That's how you started off. He's looking like Brandon Aronson. He's getting goals on Brad Guzan at the Benz. Very nice. Welcome, Zach. And of course, I gotta introduce my guy. This guy's also been killing it with articles, Mr. Tim Lovingood. Timmy, what's going on, baby?
I'm doing all right. Honestly, I got to agree with Preston Harold, who said, "Hey, that intro hit different this time." That's so true. That was a banger right there. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it got sped up like that, but it slowed down right at the climax. It was perfect. It was great.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, we try. We wanna give that fresh take here in for the Philadelphia Union, and of course, you guys know I'm a hip hop baby, and if I can instill a little bit of that flavor, absolutely, we will definitely do the duping and the different intro. So yes. Appreciate that, Preston. All right, guys, listen, we got a lot to get to today. A lot of fun stuff. We got like actual juicy Union rumors to freaking talk about here. But before we get to all those rumors, guys, last week after our podcast episode, the Union were in the CONCACAF Champions League draw. And we found out who our first matchup will be. And it's official now. We will be facing off against Deportivo Saprissa de Costa Rica, partying with the Ticos. It's going to be all hunky-dory here. What a better way to start off the CONCACAF Champions League with Deportivo Saprissa. So today we'll start off with Justin. I just want to get your thoughts. What were you feeling leading up to it, and what your reaction was when you saw Saprissa being our first matchup, and how do you feel now going into Costa Rica for this first matchup, man?
Interesting. So I'm gonna quote the Sons of Ben pod here. Did anyone else think that the CONCACAF draw kind of reminded you of like the Powerball drawing, the way they were doing it? Like you had Oscar Pereja, and I don't know who that other gentleman was, and they were fishing around the bowl. Like they had to show you their hands, and then he went like you couldn't see into the bowl. And they're serving around here, and I'm like, do they have to show us their hands? What do we think? Like they're gonna like they didn't really like. What do you think? They were gonna produce a ball out of your sleeve? Be like, oh, it's DC United. Like, wait a minute, they're not in the draw. Like,
Surprise!
yeah, surprise. I don't know. It definitely had that very lottery vibe. I can't take credit for that. That was our lovely SOB president Matt Gandazik come out with that little gem.
Love you, Matt.
And but so as the draw was going on, I kept looking at it and I'm like okay, like there were like Saprissa was a team I knew, Club, you have Club America, Monterrey, a lot of teams I knew, and then like people were like, okay, well maybe you want to get drawn against the Haitian team, and I'm like okay, I have to imagine the Haitian team can't be that good, and then there were, I believe there was the other Costa Rican team who everyone was like, yeah, no, you don't want them. And it was like, a lot of was like, okay, well, so as the team started kind of getting put in, I'm like, there wasn't anyone that really scared me. And then we got, obviously it was like, Saprissa was left. It was basically like, we were one of the last teams that was like, okay, I guess we're playing Saprissa. And having watched, I watched a little bit of them when they played Montreal. I believe they played Montreal in this year's and they look like a decent team. They're very, very scrappy team. So it's a team that the Union are definitely going to be able to match up against pretty well. And I don't know it. After having been on, after having listened to Eddie from Brooklyn. If you're a member, if you listen to the Best Soccer Show, or you're big into Costa Rican soccer, you'll know who that is. He was on the Happy Hour on Friday, and we literally just were asking him because he's a huge Saprissa fan, and we were asking him how the team's going because they have a few former MLSers, Kendall Waston, David Guzman, Christian Bolaños, and he goes, "Yeah, they're having kind of a down year." Like he's like they finished 4th last year. It's they're not really they're a scrappy team. They're gonna he's like, but the way you guys played last year, he goes, you guys should be able to handle it. So I'd say out of the teams that they could have been matched up against, and considering their side of the bracket, if they can make it out of this first round, I don't see any reason why they couldn't maybe make a run.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're not looking too far ahead, but I think it's good to note that if they do make it out of this round, that their matchups might be a little more favorable. Not easy, but favorable.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It definitely. Well, we shall see. This is going to be a fun first matchup. Tim, Saprissa, what's your thought?
Saprissa was, like Justin said, one of the few teams that I knew in the draw. And yeah, to kind of just go back to the actual whole process of the draw and everything, it was just so surreal. Like to see the Philadelphia Union as one of the teams in that draw is just, I mean, even like 3-4 years ago, you would never have thought that this would happen. So that, first off, that was just crazy. And then for the Union to be in the first pot, again, usually MLS teams are there, but it's still crazy. Like, okay, they're like one of the top 8 teams technically in this tournament. So that's cool off the bat. But then we had to wait until literally the last ball was picked out to know who the opponent was. So that was kind of agonizing. And, it took 30 minutes to go through that whole thing for whatever reason. It's a FIFA presentation for sure. We've definitely seen that with other draws and World Cup draws and Champions League over in Europe and everything like that. But no, Saprissa, they're a good team. But like Justin said, they seem to be having a little bit of a down year. They're in second place right now in their league. They've only played 8 games. They just fired their coach. We learned that in press conferences right after the draw that they had fired their coach. So that was kind of funny to see there. But yeah, we don't really know what this team is going to really look like, but we do know they're going to have a lot more games and meaningful games played before the Union. The Union's first game that is meaningful will be against this team in the beginning of April. So, but Justin said he's not really looking too far ahead, and I'm really not like that. I always look far ahead, especially when there's a bracket style competition.
It's like CCL final, let's go.
I mean, I don't know about CCL final, but I looked at the side of the bracket and I'm like, I mean, you if you beat Saprissa, you get the winner of Atlanta and the other Costa Rican team that I'm going to butcher, so I'm not even going to say it.
If that's the team I'm thinking of, I thought they were pretty good, which I'd be scared to
They are very good. They're the top team in Costa Rica right now. But if the Union can make a run, they somehow are able to maybe sneak an away goal against them in the second round, then you sort of have to worry about maybe Club America in the semis. So and it gets.
No, I'm just kidding. Let me stop.
Yeah. So hey. But if the Union can get out of the first round of this tournament, it will be a milestone for the club for sure. I don't want to think too far ahead. I like to do that. That's my personality. But if the Union can just win the first part of the bracket here, get out of that, it is definitely very important for them. And it'll be right when MLS is kicking off too. So what a huge boost that could be. You go through preseason. We were saying, they won't be playing many meaningful games before this or any meaningful games before this. So
they want to play
this is the way they kick off their year. They kick off, they go down to Saprissa and they win like 2-0, 2-1 down in Saprissa. Like, could you imagine?
That's a bold prediction.
Could you imagine though? That's all I'm saying.
Well, considering they won't have potentially have bags of pee thrown at them.
Yeah,
I think they'll be. I think they'll be. I think without fans is going to be a huge advantage.
Right. No, I agree with Tim. Like I resonated with a lot with what you said, Tim. It was such a surreal moment for me as well. Like just seeing like I was all giddy. Like the Union were in there. Like I'd never seen the Union in those. It was one of those balls there. So that was definitely great to see. It's crazy too. You mentioned, where we were 5 years ago, even to think where we are now. And like Jim, like I remember the whole, curtain, close the curtain, Jim Curtin out on all that stuff. And it's funny, like you and I were in that presser after the draw, and Jim honestly had the most personality out of all the managers.
And he wasn't just Jim; it was Jimmy.
They call him Jimmy Curtin, which I was like,
Jimmy Curtin. I'm like, what is it?
We only call him Jimmy Curtin, not you. No, I'm just kidding.
We're his friends.
And Tim, I was so disappointed. We were both under the impression that the manager of Saprissa wasn't going to be there, but I saw a picture from Roberto Benitez, and there was a picture of him. And I was like, "What the hell?" I had a blind.
Yeah, they broke up the presser a little bit differently. So the Union were in one side, and then there was another one out there that we didn't get a link to it. We missed that one, so we'll have to get it next time. But it's
all good.
It's okay.
It's all good. No, it was definitely a surreal moment, and you seeing the Union in that little strip that was definitely pretty cool here. So guys, obviously we're all excited here about this first matchup here for the Philadelphia Union. Before we move on, kind of wanted to give you guys the other matchups so you guys can get an understanding here of what this tournament is going to look like. So the first matchup here in the round of 16, you have Cruz Azul versus Arache from Haiti. I think that's how you say it. Arache from Haiti. The next matchup you have Forge FC in Toronto, so you still have to play. I guess that's the Canadian Cup they have to play in.
That got postponed from last year, so whenever they get around to it.
And for everyone saying TFC is going to be the winner, I wouldn't. Anything can happen in this game. Hey, anything. I've seen crazy stuff happen in this game. Whoever wins that game is gonna go up against Club Leon. We have Monterrey facing off against Atlético Pantoja from República Dominicana. We have Columbus Crew facing off against Real Esteli. Of course, our Philadelphia Union facing off against Deportivo Saprissa, Atlanta United, and Alajuelense, the matchup that we just discussed. Club America facing off against Club Olimpia. And then the Portland Timbers are in a playoff against Marathon from Honduras as well. So this definitely, guys, if you haven't watched it before, definitely I highly recommend watching CONCACAF Champions League. It is some gritty grind soccer going on. Anything can happen. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. And the last thing you want to do, to quote my boys, the soccer cooligans, don't get CONCACAF. Do not get CONCACAF.
Don't get CONCACAF. But
We're
can I
going
say,
full CONCACAF, though.
I was glad not to match against Club Leon. I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, whoo! Like I know their history of being a CONCACAF juggernaut, and I was like,
right,
ooh, like
right.
We dodged that bullet.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. My dark horse for CONCACAF Champions League, Club Leon. You heard it here first. All right, guys. Let's move forward here. Let's move on to some actual rumors, actual things happening. Things are happening with our union, guys. So of course, we've been following DOOP across the pond. We'll get to that segment later. Obviously, we got to find the replacement for Mark Mckenzie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we may have found our guy here. It seems as if the Philadelphia Union, in fact, will be going in on the 25-year-old Scottish defender, Stuart Finlay. This kid is, he has a cap right now with the Scottish team.
Yeah,
he's coming from. Listen, I butcher all these Scottish names for the longest time. I thought it was Celtic over Celtic. Kilmarnock. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Kilmarnock. Okay, well,
that one's actually simpler than most teams.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, that's actually not bad. You're right there. So he's coming from the Scottish Premiership here. And this is, of course, obviously, look, when I say replacing Mark Mckenzie, no one's going to ever replace Mark Mckenzie, but obviously he's coming in with depth here. And who knows? I mean, maybe potentially compete. This is what the Union do. This is what we predicate on. Competition all throughout the board here. So, Tim, I'll let you get going on this one, man. What's your thoughts here, man? This signing, it looks like a done deal according to our Scottish son. So what's your thoughts on Mr. Finlay?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw that the Scottish Sun had posted something about it, I was a little iffy. They're not always the most reliable. Then you saw a few more stories come out throughout the weekend and a little bit more beginning of this week. And then this afternoon, our very own Jonathan Tannenwald of the Philadelphia Inquirer reported that this was going to be a done deal. Obviously, it has not come through the club yet, so we haven't seen it officially posted yet, but it looks like he's coming to Philly. I think it is a pretty smart move, and honestly, I see him more as that rotation style of center back, sort of what the Glesnes was last year, and Elliott at one point as well. I think that Elliott and Glesnes will kind of make that pairing. They have the chemistry together, being on the team already. I think they'll start the season out, but as we get into what the MLS season and possibly CONCACAF Champions League might look like here, we're all assuming that there's going to be a lot of congestion in the schedule. Just to fit everything in, starting almost a month later than normal and still kind of ending around the same time, I would assume there's going to be a lot of weekend and then midweek games when it comes to that early part of the schedule. So I think he'll get some minutes there in some of those games in between. And who knows, maybe by the middle of the season, we'll see him kind of break out and take over. I mean, from the little bit that I've seen from him, just from highlights that are being posted, it seems like he's got some good closing speed, which is always nice from a center back. We got used to that from Mark Mckenzie for sure.
Right.
And then he has a certain quality that I guess all of the Philadelphia Union center backs has to have, which is he can score a banger. He can score goals. And yeah, we saw Glesnes do it last year. We saw Mark Mckenzie do it last year. Even Jack Elliott has been known to score some goals, especially against the New England Revolution. He always likes to score. Hey, he likes to score against the New England Revolution. So it is what it is. But no, if Finlay can come in and start, maybe scoring a few goals here and there, that'd be cool too. Some fans of his former club now were saying that he's pretty good on set pieces, which the Union haven't had a lot of good set piece targets in the last few years. But I know Justin wants to talk more about that scoring quality for sure.
Yeah, I mean they don't call me Dr. QBQ for nothing, and that's the. Listen, I think it's very clear what Ernst looked for in center back. It's that QBQ. Now,
Yeah.
for those uninitiated, QBQ stands for quality banger quotient.
Okay.
How sweet of a goal can a center back score from how far of a distance? Because it's very clear that our center backs can score goals. I mean, you look at the last few years, our center backs, whether it's header or hit a screamer from outside the box, they score goals. And if that video's any proof, this kid rates high on the QBQ scale. But no, in reality, I think if this signing is true, this is exactly a Union type of signing. The 25-year-old kid who has experience, was at one point on loan from Newcastle,
Yeah.
was a stalwart for Phil Kilmarnock, very quality, has some big caps, has some a good amount of caps for the Scottish national team. Has a goal. I believe his goal came in October 2019 against San Marino. So not exactly a big country, but it's an international goal is a goal.
Yeah.
It's one of those low risk, high reward. You're not expecting a ton of him. What you are expecting is someone who's going to push for that starting spot. If you have 3 quality center backs, that's a luxury that many teams would want, because your top 2 center backs are normally going to be pretty good. And then sometimes there's a bit of a fall off between that second and third center back. In the last few years, the Union have realized, oh, we should probably have a good third center back so that there's not much of a drop off. And that last year was key, because look, Glesnes came in, no one knew much about him. He comes in, and you allow Jack to get rest, you allow Mark to get rest. Like when you keep rotating these guys, you're allowing for fresher legs on the defensive end, and honestly, that's huge. And looking at it, it's like I said, it's not a flashy signing, but do you really need a flashy signing on the defensive end? No. I mean, yeah, people are saying, "Oh, well, where's our number 10? We don't need a center back." To those, and I've been saying this to people, you need depth, and this is a quality depth signing. It's not like I'm sorry, Tim. I know Courtney might not want to hear me say this, but it's not like we're bringing back Colin. It's like, okay, he's a depth signing. He's not going to get many starts. He's not going to get much playing time, but he's there as a leadership guy and as someone who can help, maybe stabilize the locker room. This is a signing that is going to get some decent playing time. And like I said, a lot of people in Union, Twitter, who were like, "Oh wow, we don't really need a center back." It's like Ernst said it. Like he wanted to sign another center back. Obviously, he said his main priority was a goal-scoring attacking mid. Which now that the official MLS transfer window has been pushed back, given the season, they now have plenty of time. And honestly, I think that works in favor of the MLS, because the European transfer window is closed. It's not going to reopen until July. So if you have guys that are potentially out of contract that teams want to get rid of before the summer, I think you're in a pretty good spot. Yeah. So I wouldn't fret. I think obviously that signing, that attacking mid signing, is probably, I mean, the Union report on March 1st, which is at least a week before most teams. The only teams that are reporting prior, actually, I think not even prior, it's basically anyone who's in CCL.
Yeah,
I believe they have to report at least like February 24th. I know it's like a week.
That's only for
quarantine.
That's only for Toronto, actually. Everyone that's in CCL is March 1st.
I thought it was like a week quarantine. Like I thought they were trying to.
Oh yeah.
Like I think
before that. Yes.
Yeah. So like I think, Toronto, the Canadian teams have to report a week earlier, but for all the other teams, I think they're reporting around that time anyway. Not so much to practice, but as a we have to make sure that we're getting this set. So I think if you're the Union, I'm not saying you're gonna have a signing in the next week, but in the next 2 weeks, given that you're reporting on March 1st, I would like to think that there's a signing incoming. And again, given that you're going to be the only league that has a window open,
Yeah.
I think teams are going to be more likely to make them to make that move. I mean, heck, look at FC Cincinnati with Brenner.
Yeah.
$13 million in a team that really people thought of, but it's like, well, the European window was closed, so if they would have gotten rid of him, they would have had to get rid of him earlier.
Yeah.
And it's a good springboard for young talent. So, and not only that, the league has started to use that what do they call it, young money. It's like it's literally, I think it's like essentially it's like for a lot of teams that sign that young cash money.
Yeah.
For the teams that sign those young DPs or those young, like they don't count fully against the salary cap. I forget how that works. It's supposed to help offset some of the costs. Now, if you're a team, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, it's going to be teams like Atlanta and LAFC that can spend the money." It's like, well, why wouldn't you also maybe consider for the teams that normally have homegrowns but occasionally splash on some younger players? The Union might be in that realm. So I think look on the horizon for the next few weeks. I have to imagine now that everything's set, you're going to see a lot more rumors, a lot more signings pick up because now the MLS, now players around the world know, okay, I'm actually going to have a job if I go, if I come here. So we'll see. I'm excited to see how the season plays out, and I'm excited to see potential signings come out. Because remember, the first game for the Union is going to be against Saprissa.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of time, but you also want to get a guy acclimated. So if that signing's going to come, it's going to come in probably the next, I'd say no more than a month. Because at that point, you still have like another month or so to get the person acclimated. So if you really consider like quarantining and stuff, you want that player in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. Hey, this is the first one, and hopefully, I mean, we've been told that they are going to find someone for Brandon Aronson along the lines of what Stuart Finley kind of is, cheaper option overseas in Europe. Maybe who knows where this other one is going to come from, but definitely, it's a start, guys. It is a start, and remember, this team, the majority of this team did win Supporter Shield. I know we lost 2 key pieces to that. But this is how championship teams have to go through. You next man up. The young, obviously, we got Paxton Harrison here on this team as well, so we will see for sure, man. Well, obviously, one of the issues as well with signing players is international slots, right? Well, there is a potential where the Union could get an international slot open up here that they do need to get some more players. There was a very interesting, I guess, report. It's funny because it's Twitter, but we can say it's a report out of Brazil, a club called América Mineiro. I believe it's a second division Brazilian club, if I'm not mistaken. Well, they said that they are buying, like it essentially says here, and this is actually Portuguese. I thought this was in Spanish the whole time. But they said they bought they bought Matish Orvich, Mr. Sexy Season, from us for $2 million. And the best part about this report was they included his FIFA overall. I'm not even kidding. It says he's 22 years old, 64 overall.
And the Photoshop job is so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I was like, oh, like big oof. I'm
gonna see if I can get this on because
this
is so
freaking funny. You're just like.
like the fact that they put the FIFA overall, like I was done after that. It was absolutely crazy. But no, so look, obviously, guys, the rumors, I'm not buying it whatsoever. I mean, to get $2 million for Matish Orvich, who didn't even play last year.
Yeah.
Look, I give Ernst Tanner a crap ton of credit for a lot of what he's done for the Philadelphia Union, but listen, that's incredible stuff right there, man. Tim, what do you make of this, man?
It came out of nowhere. So
right.
Honestly, the first that I saw of it was when our group chat was blowing up and you guys were kind of sending it in and talking about it. I'm like, oh, do you think this is true? And I'm like, there's no way in hell that this report is true unless someone that reports on MLS starts to pick up wind of a possible transfer that is Matej Jorovic leaving the Union. So that was my thought process, is like, no way, like Photoshop job. There it is. There it is right there. I mean, honestly, when I first saw this and, read it a little bit and then translated it there, my first thought was, oh, is this someone like going through like a FIFA campaign and he just like was like, oh, this is the player I just bought for my FIFA team? No, this isn't a thing. And if it is, then Ernst Tanner is even more of a wizard. That's why I always call him a wizard when he pulls this kind of stuff.
You're a wizard, Ernst.
For real though.
Okay, so obviously we're not buying that, but the better question would be, and I'll give this to you, Justin. Is it possible that we could get rid of Matej Jorovic?
It's likely.
Mm-hmm.
I say likely in the sense that, like, you have an international player coming in, you're going to need an international spot. Now, whether that's a permanent transfer or a loan, you're going to need to free up that spot.
Right.
When I said a few pods ago that the going rate was 50,000, well, apparently that number like tripled at least, because one of the more recent trades was for about 175,000 international spot. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, who decided that number it was supposed to be over tripled? But yeah, you're gonna need to pick up that spot. So while that might be a really bad Photoshop job,
right.
I mean, think about the last few years, how many times that reports from overseas have been the starts of what essentially has become a rumor and then an actual transfer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can think of every rumor the last 3 years has come from overseas. And so it wouldn't surprise me now if he got the reported $2.2 million for Orovets, who did not see the field. And now, whatever reason that was it because of the reported confidence issues? Was it because he was on international duty for his country for the U23s a lot? There's never really been a confirmed, like, this was the reason.
Right.
It's kind of a lot of rumors. I have to imagine the confidence thing could have been a thing.
Right.
He was on the squad for a lot of games. He just literally never saw the field.
Right.
And I feel bad for him, but like at that point, like, as much as we want to, do these young players, it's a business. And I hate to sound so shrewd, but that's soccer. Like, while it is a sport, Ernst is looking at it from not only the product on the field, but he's looking at the business side going, okay, well, how much do I think this player's worth?
Yeah.
Right. I look, I'm in the bandwagon that, like, if we can find a way to get rid of him, and if we have to bite a bullet, I'm down for it. Because, I mean, it looks like we're looking for replacements outside of the United States, which I'm all for on as well. And I also kind of do, like, we have Cole Turner. Is DeVries a CDM? No.
DeVries is an attacker.
One of these other homegrowns is CDM.
Brandon Craig.
Well, I would rather give those guys an opportunity to see. I know Cole Turner was here with us last year as well, so I would see what kind of he has as far as a backup six. Obviously, Brujo ran away with that position. He might be one of – I think this year he'll make his claim he's a top 5 CDM in Major League Soccer. So I'm ready for that. But now, if we can find a way to get rid of Matej, and even if we have to bite the bullet, then I definitely am I'm down for that. It's kind of like it's kind of like it's kind of like the Eagles right now, right? You got to bite the bullet on trading Carson Wentz, get what you can, right? So we'll see definitely what happens with that one there. Guys, before we move on to DOOP Across the Pond, I kind of wanted to put this out there as well. Because I don't want to forget about Union 2. Union 2 is definitely important on what the Union do, but they have retained interim coach Marlon LeBlanc. Now, you guys know I'm not really big on Union 2, but if something like that happens, I'm going to keep my eye on as well because those kids are our future, right? So, Tim, kind of your thoughts on Marlon returning here?
I mean, honestly, last year I kept a little bit of an eye on it, but I mean, he looked like he did all right with what he had. It's a weird spot to be in as a coach because even though you're in a league, you are really being treated as you're the developmental coach who's going to bring up these next possible first team players and kind of evaluate them that way with the first team. That's sort of how the Union work in general. They're all they're always talking, first team coaches with the second team and with Ernst Tanner and down to the academy. Everyone is always talking about players and player development. So I think for LeBlanc, he's brought back in to get the most out of these, young academy kids that are going to get now professional experience in a soccer league. It's not MLS, but it's sort of a stepping stone. They'll be able to evaluate that. If there's any players that can make that jump to the first team, we're seeing it now routinely every year. The Union will sign 4 to 5 homegrowns that played the majority of the U2 season. So any standouts that way that the Union like, they'll most likely, go through LeBlanc there, and he'll have to, give a good report to everyone else. So yeah, it is what it is at this point. That's what the Union 2 are. They're, it's not the Bethlehem Steel anymore, where they had a pretty competitive team back when Brendan Aronson was kind of coming through. They had a mixture of academy kids and older vets who didn't make it to MLS. So it was, different that way, where Bethlehem Steel was more so competing for USL championships back at that in that day. Now the Union 2, it'll be a little bit rough when you watch those games for sure. But it's all about getting the players' experience.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It definitely, we had to throw that out there, but definitely interesting there. Justin, what do you got on? You got anything on Marlon here?
Like Tim, I kind of kept a bit of an eye on U2, and like as the games were coming on, I'd be like, oh, I'll watch the game. Like, it's on ESPN Plus. There's not much else to do. And given last year was basically a free for all in terms of playing, especially after everything that happened beginning of the season with the coaching change, and Marlon seemed like he knew how to get the best out of these kids.
Yeah,
given what he had. Now, again, his average age of that roster was like 17. So you really didn't expect all that much. But what they did have, there were flashes. Like I started to see, why Paxton was being so highly rated. And you started to see McGlynn and Craig. Like you started to see the guys that especially McGlynn. Like McGlynn started showing off, and then the Union were like, "Oh yeah, he's our next homegrown," and I was like, wait, I remember that. I'm like, that kid's like, wait, we got him to homegrown. I'm like, oh snap, like he could I said like Anthony Fontana might be the top of that pack. Well, Paxton and McGlynn might be pushing, Tony for that spot, because there's a reason you don't just get a first team contract because, you have a lot of potential. Okay, you have a lot of potential, but it's like they see something, and it's in a spot where right now it's a pretty open competition.
Yeah.
So at this point, say being pessimistic, say we don't sign another player. That means that, and I say even if we do sign that player, that these kids, given the amount of fixtures, are going to get games.
Yeah.
So if you don't sign these kids unless you think they're going to contribute something this season, and your depth's going to be tested a lot this season. So we'll see. And I think Marlon had a lot to do with how these kids played last year. And like I said, I don't know what the status of U2 is for next year, because I know that they're trying to go into the whole MLS Next thing, and there's the development league. So it's not particularly set when that league's getting started, but it's good to see that they at least kept him, because you said the Union have a pretty good track record of having coaches kind of get their footing and then really moving on. So I'm interested to see if LeBlanc, given this chance, can then parlay that into maybe a USL job or assistant coaching job. Like eventually, like I said, like it's a platform. And I mean, look at Jimmy. Jimmy was an academy coach. We've all seen that picture. He was training 6-year-old kids.
Yeah,
like that was where he started, and now he's the Supporter Shield winning CONCACAF playing coach of the Union. Who would have thought in a less than a decade that's where he'd be?
Right.
And, from retiring to leading a team into Champions League, like I'd say that's a pretty good turnaround for someone who had literally just retired like the year before.
Right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you there. All right, let's move forward here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's your favorite segment, ladies and gentlemen. Every week, it is DOOP Across the Pond, the segment where we look what Union players are doing overseas. Tim, take it away, my man. What do you got for us this week?
Oh, I know everyone is going to want to kind of jump in on the Brendan Aronson goal, but I'm going to save that for last. I'm going to let Justin go off on that because I've said my piece on it through different articles. It was a beautiful goal. But let's start first with Mark Mckenzie. Mark Mckenzie, we didn't have too much of play from him in this last week. His game got postponed, I think, because of icy conditions. I think is what Genk put out over the weekend. They couldn't play because of ice and storms over there, so their game got postponed to tomorrow. So we'll get to watch that game. All of the Belgian league games are now on ESPN Plus. So if you already have that subscription, you can now watch Mark Mckenzie every week, which is amazing.
Yes.
So other than that, though, one other player that we need to focus on that we haven't brought up on the podcast before in this segment is Mr. Andrew Vuten. Andrew Vuten has scored now three goals in his last 2 games for, I believe, the last place team over in Austria. So he's playing in the same league as Brendan Aronson. His team is in last place, and we heard his past as people who root for the Union here. The whole reason that he came over to Philly in the first place was because of his track record of saving a team from relegation. So I think right now it's sort of the same position he's in. So he's kind of called upon to score those goals. And he didn't really do it for the Union at all. We saw that 1 goal in MLS's back tournament. And then we saw the goal line clearance that kind of helps secure the Supporter Shield over against the Chicago Fire. So he had some moments for the Union, but no, he's scoring goals right now for his new team. And honestly, good for him because it wasn't the right spot for him here in Philly. He wasn't getting the minutes. I don't think he particularly fit well in the system that we played because it calls for him to be a little bit more defensive and press, and it just didn't look like he fit that system very well. But hey, good for him. He's doing his thing over in Austria now. And I'm going to turn it over to Justin to talk about that Brendan Aronson goal.
You there,
I'm calling the German Jay Simpson because Jay Simpson actually scored goals in the MLS.
Okay.
Low blow to both of them. Anyway, yes. So that Brendan Aronson goal, let me tell you, fantastic. For all those who may not have read Tim's article, which if you didn't, what are you doing? Go right now. I'll wait. Go after
the pod.
Yeah, right after the pod. Go read that article. But no, so he gets the ball into the box. He's 1-on-1 with the guy, and he's trying that kind of little step over where he's faking left, but really he wants to pull that to his right, and I think he is trying to do his version of El Seno.
Yeah,
he's trying it. Like he wants to do it. At some point, the defender's not letting him do it, so he just goes, "Fine, stand still," turns his body, outwards, fires off a curler, and he's standing still, like perfectly still. All he does is just turns, fires off a curler. Goalie is rooted to the spot. That ball goes inside the post. And I was sitting there. I was like, all of a sudden, everyone was like, Brendan scored. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And the video comes out, and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
that was fantastic. And apparently I learned that the jersey he was wearing is what Salzburg makes the youngest player on the field wear. So if you notice why the middle sponsor was not Red Bull and it was a different thing, it's because apparently that's a Salzburg tradition. So if you see him wearing that jersey more often, it means he is the youngest person on the field. But yeah, no, that goal was beautiful, and people were like, "Oh my God, this kid's good," and I'm like, "Yeah, you should have seen him in the last couple of years in Philly." And you're like, you wonder why Salzburg paid $6 million, potential up to $9 million, and the Union might get like 25% of that sell on. And I said that I've been saying this now for the last few weeks. I don't think Brendan will be there for more than 2 years.
Yeah.
I really think the way he's progressing, it's very clear he's going to be too good for the Austrian Bundesliga. And I really think, who knows? Jesse Marsch might, everyone thought he was going to be in for the Dortmund job. Well, Marco Rosa, he's on for that job. Well, Gladbach needs a coach. And I was saying for a while, I think Gladbach would be a perfect team for Brendan to go to. Well, if Jesse Marsch leaves next year and Brendan's progressed, Marsch might go, hey, I want to bring Brendan with me. Let's so the Gladbach board, let's get the deal done, and he could be playing Champions League too. He's going to be in Europa League, like Salzburg plays. The Europa League round of 32 first ties are this week.
Yep.
So it's going to be really interesting. And, Brendan's already, 1 goal, 1 assist already. And in a limited, mostly it's been a spattering of off the bench and starts. I think they're kind of trying to rotate a lot of people given, the congestion, the fixture congestion. But hey, Brendan's looking really good.
Yeah.
And honestly, sorry, AK Gaming goes Mbappe to the Union. But after that hat trick against Barcelona, I think he might just be out of the Union's price range just a little bit. But no, Brendan, I'm really excited to see Brendan and Mark doing really well. And honestly, it's a really good sign of things to come, I think, for the Union young players. I think it's obviously, we're not going to get $5-6 million transfer every time, but hey, Ernst has a pretty good connection there. We have some some legs now in Europe. I think this could be the next. We could start being more of an FC Dallas where we're selling players very regularly, not to huge clubs. Okay, yeah, Brian Reynolds went to Roma, but Reggie Cannon went to Boavista. Now that might be a leapfrog to Lille, but Boavista's not exactly a big club, so we'll see. But I'm excited to see how everything works out for Brendan and Mark. But yeah, Brendan's goal, chef's kiss, beautiful.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The thoughts running through my mind, it was absolutely, you don't even want to know. It was incredible. I'm excited to see more from Brandon Aronson. All right, guys, we're running through it with time here, so we're gonna go through the MLS news and notes, and I'll throw each topic here to each of my co-hosts here as well. So I want to start off today MLS news and notes with Frankie Amaya. Situation souring over in Cincinnati. We all know Cincinnati is looking to improve upon the team. Justin, here, thoughts on Frankie Amaya and wanting to leave Cincinnati?
Yeah, so that one was definitely interesting. From what I've heard, Frankie Amaya and his agent reached directly out to Paul Tenorio at The Athletic and publicly demanded, hey, we want out. And from the rumors that I heard, apparently there were some significant offers for Amaya earlier in the offseason, like $1 to $2 million in allocation money. Well, now that it's well known that Amaya wants out, that value is going to be cut in half.
Yeah.
Because if the player wants out, it lowers their value extremely, because it's like, well, is he really going to work hard? And since he doesn't feel they have to sell him, they won't. But at the same time, it's like, is he going to show up and just say, well, I have a contract, I'm going to do my job, but I'm not really happy about it? Or is he going to pull like a James Harden and go, you know what? Nah, I ain't coming. Trade me. Like, it's going to be interesting to see. And it's not the only drama from MLS clubs, but it's certainly one of the more notable ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of FC Cincinnati, there, we obviously, one of the reasons why Amaya is so upset, because Cincinnati is obviously looking for others to come and sort of take his place. Well, Tim, I'll send this one to you. Lucho Acosta to FC Cincinnati. You think he's coming back to MLS? What's going on there?
Yeah, it looks like he's coming back to MLS. Whether or not it'll be Cincy or back to DC is sort of what's at play here. So if I'm not mistaken, from what I've heard, is that he's coming back to MLS regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, his current club, they don't want him anymore. They're looking to move him. DC United has his MLS rights because he played in DC. Cincy want Lucho. So essentially, the fighting and the bidding war is between the two MLS clubs on who can get the player rights and how much are they going to pay for that. So I believe that's where Cincy's at, is they're negotiating with DC right now to try to pay to get the player rights and pay the player.
How much ham are we going to be offering here?
Young money, what all these
young cash money.
All of this stuff is crazy. For Cincinnati, I don't even know if it really makes sense. I mean, it would be good to have a quality attacking midfielder behind Brenner, but at the same time, Lucho Acosta, he had his spurts in MLS. Obviously, everyone remembers him with Wayne Rooney and how he did there, but that was actually pretty limited. The rest of the time in MLS, he's kind of average, to be honest. So
yeah, but Tim, at the same time, it's like, wouldn't that be an improvement over their attacking options now? Because they don't really have.
If you're looking at it that way, then it goes back to even Frankie Amaya. You have this kid that you drafted. Frankie Amaya can play attacking midfield.
You're playing him as a like a number 8, essentially.
Yeah, no, but he can also play in that attacking role. So if he wanted to be there and they wanted him in their plans, they would have just plugged him in there. Is more so what I'm saying. So the fact that they were looking at Lucho or maybe even Pity Martinez to be maybe a converted 10, something along those lines, that's kind of the story here. Lucho to Cincy, does it happen? I don't know. Cincy has shown that they want to spend crazy amounts of money, so maybe they pay DC a good chunk of change for his rights, and then he becomes.
What do you think is better for his career? Do you think it's better to go back to DC or move on to something else with Cincinnati?
I mean, honestly, for Lucho, it's kind of all a step backwards, and it sucks because he was doing so well with DC before that he almost had that move to PSG,
which fell out literally at the it was like what, $1 to $2 million that they wouldn't go down, and it was like when PSG was really, really desperate. Yeah,
it fell apart, and then he didn't go to nearly as good a club as PSG when he went over. Now he's on his way back to MLS. So I think the best fit for him, I think, might be what he knows, but maybe he doesn't feel that way. Who knows? At this point, we know he's going to be in MLS. We just don't know if it's DC or Cincy. Cincy look hell-bent to spend, though. So
yeah, seriously, money.
Well, we do know DC has a new manager, and it might have different tactics. Or actually does have different. Does different tactics than Nelson, so it might not be that familiar. But definitely sucks for Lucho Acosta for sure, man. This next one is for Justin here. This seems like it happens every year, but Kaku, it's another year, another drama with Kaku. Take it away here, Justin.
So yeah, it feels like every offseason we've had this with him. Well, this offseason, it's definitely a lot more of a very curious and very interesting one. So I and I would say normally, I'm pretty in tune with a lot of the MLS ins and outs. Well, this one definitely flew under the radar because there's not a lot of reporters for the Red Bulls, so not exactly like we have many sources to look at. Well, apparently, like I said, Kaku's been trying to leave the last few years. His whole time in New York has kind of been. It hasn't been pleasant, to be honest, at least from when he came to how he's been playing. So the rumor, so he apparently, negotiated terms, has been training with a club in Saudi Arabia, and apparently it might feature in a game tomorrow or this week. Like, that's what I've heard. Well, the Red Bulls said, well, no, we picked up your option. You're still one of our players. And he goes, yeah, no, you didn't inform me in time, so the contract's null and void. And the Red Bulls are going, all right, we're going to take this up with the Court of Arbitration in Sport. Well, that's what they're doing. Now, even if they win the case, Kaku's not going to be a Red Bull player. You kidding me? What player would go, I want out, and even though you won the case, why do I want to come back to you? Like, he's been wanting to leave for a while. At this point, like, negotiate a fee and let him go. I mean, these Saudi clubs can be overpaying for players. Like, give him whatever and just let him go. He clearly is going to be a detriment, a cancer in the locker room. If he clearly wants out, a lot of the guys in the locker room are probably like, why do we want you here? Like, you don't want to be here. We don't want you here. If I were Aaron Long, if I were a Daniel Royer, I'm like, dude, get the F out of here. Like, why do I want you as a teammate? You don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Kaku.
I feel like we've been saying this the last few off seasons, but
Yeah.
I finally feel like Kaku's gonna go.
He's been close to Liga MX and he's been wanting to get out and never really anything. And this might be the end to the Kaku saga. All right. Next up here, I'm going to send this one over to Tim. Look, we're going to be introducing a new franchise. It's not this season. Well, we'll get to this. So Charlotte FC, as we all know, will be playing their games in Bank of America Field, home of the Carolina Panthers of the NFL. And they've been criticized today heavily. And this is actually I would be really offended if I was a Charlotte FC fan. We all have our displeasures with sharing fields with the NFL. Like, it's not a good idea. Well, now the issue is the season ticket costs is ridiculous. So shouts to MLS Buzz. He's always on top of everything that's going on with the MLS, but he put out a really good tweet today comparing the season ticket situation to some of these other clubs around the league. And if we're looking at the view that I'm looking at here, which I can't really get onto you guys there, it's probably maybe like 20 rows away from the field. It's a corner seat. This is $2,200 per seat. $2,200 per seat. Tim, man.
Tickets. Yeah, for season tickets.
Man, why? Just why? Why would Charlotte do this themselves?
I don't even know. It's crazy. Like a lot of what people like MLS for is that it's a professional sport with a somewhat affordable season ticket package. If you're looking for even like nice seats,
I think the whole experience is pretty affordable.
And,
right.
And especially if you're with a family, like, that's the biggest.
The families part is huge. I'm trying to find it too. I know Charlotte was talking about having what was it, where they have you can like reserve your seat or like pass it down like as a legacy.
Well, so that's what it is. It's a personal seat licenses.
Yeah,
NFL does it. Like, if say your dad has season tickets to the Eagles and he dies, well, you can pick that up and keep with it. So, and unfortunately, I think it's a very American/English thing because, like, I have a friend in Germany who's a Darmstadt fan, and even when they were in the Bundesliga, for one season a few years ago, he goes, tickets were still relatively affordable. He goes, this whole seat license thing is an English and American concept. Like, it's why their tickets are so expensive, but why around the world the rest of the tickets are usually pretty affordable because like they actually want fans there. They're not trying to price people out.
Yeah.
But Nashville doesn't have this problem, right? Their season.
Nashville. So I talked to Nashville people that they don't have that issue, even though they play. Again, this is fairly, from what I've seen, Charlotte might be the first team to implement this.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it any other team around MLS.
So from what I can see, I just pulled that up as well. So essentially, they're coming in 2022. So the season ticket price for a seat in 2022 is $1,000 or $1,600 for a season ticket. But then for your seat license, that's an extra $550 on top of that price. So if you want that season ticket in 2022, you're paying over $2,000.
That is some bad business.
That's what I paid like per month in loans. Like,
yeah.
And the thing is too is that you guys. Let's see. All right, this is good right here. Hertha Berlin tickets are $20, and that's in the
that's normal for around the world. But if it's England, United States, like for some reason we have this thing about more money. It's like, well, no, the game's supposed to like attract more people. Pricing them out is not going to attract people in.
Right.
But no, I mean, if I'm a Charlotte FC fan, like why would I want to sign up for this, right? Like it kind of feels like they're trying to go up with the Panthers. If I'm being honest, like with these prices, like why are you trying to compete with that?
Well, and the thing is, like, I understand, like, first of all, why do they need the extra money? The owner of the Panthers is the owner of Charlotte FC. Like, you're not paying any money to rent the stadium. It's your stadium.
Right.
Like I've talked, like my cousin lives down in Charlotte, and he was telling me, like, we were talking about going to games because I was down to visit him last year, and he was like, yeah, he's like, he was so excited about a team coming down there. He goes, I'm gonna get tickets, all this stuff, and then I was asking him like, hey, are you still interested with this whole PSL thing? He goes, honestly, I don't. Like, he's kind of like, he's a huge soccer fan. He's like, I don't know. Like, like, if you're really scaring away the people that you're trying to, it's like, what family? Say if a family has a family of 4 and wants to bring his family, are you telling me the guy's going to shell out $8,000 for tickets? Like, that's a joke.
If they buy season tickets, though, I think they're probably banking on those single game tickets for families.
But like, you want those season ticket numbers, especially for new teams. You want, like, that's why when St. Louis, like 10 or Nashville was like, they got to 10,000 season tickets, like that, because one, it was affordable, but two, people wanted it. Like, people want it, but why, if you're a Charlotte fan, why would you shell out $2,000 for those season tickets?
Yeah, it's definitely bad business, I would say, for an MLS team, and we'll really see if they keep it going. If they get enough backlash on this, maybe they'll take it away before they even play a game.
I hope so.
I would hope so.
Dumb. Yeah. It's just really dumb.
Yeah,
this is incredible too. Under 14 are free. My God, that's really incredible. All right, man. It definitely sucks. But the last news of note here I want to talk about. This is again paging Mr. Union Hockey. Mr. Union Hockey. We talked about this last week, and we did not believe this would come true, but it is true. Alexander Pato is going to Orlando City, guys.
Yep.
This is actually happening. I thought this was a joke, but no, this is very true, and Orlando City fans are giddy. I saw it on Twitter. It was
really. I talked to a few who are like, I guess they're like.
I saw someone rave about a top line of Mueller, Pato, and Nani, and I was like, relax.
Yeah. Pato's only good years were in AC Milan. Like, do they need? Like, he's been a flop everywhere else. Like,
wait, Mueller plays a wing? Can he play a wing?
Yeah,
he's a wing. He's a winger / forward. He's kind of like a Jordan Morris. It's a winger / forward.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's definitely weird. Justin, what do you think?
I mean,
does this really make them much better than what they were last year?
I don't think so. But if he scores, I would say I'm going to be conservative. If he scores 10 to 15 goals, it might be considered a decent signing. I don't think it's a DP signing because, from my understanding, I mean, I think it was a free transfer, so I don't think he is costing much. So, I mean, if he can score 10 goals, at least 10 goals, I consider it a decent low risk signing. Essentially, it's a low risk, high reward signing. You're not really you're hoping he's the offensive piece you needed, but you're not relying on it. You're hoping, because that was like the one thing they needed, a decent goal scorer besides Mueller and Nani. So
Right.
if he can help contribute a little bit, it'll be a decent signing. But I'm not holding my breath much for that.
Absolutely, man.
The thing that is kind of baffling to me is that they had DK and they let him go out on loan, and he was looking like he was going to be able to score 10 to 15 goals in MLS this year. And then you bring in this old guy now to, rile up your fan base, and you're hoping that he scores 10 to 15 goals rather than someone who was already established in MLS, who was kind of, getting to that stardom phase. And while it's good for the player to be on loan over in England, is it really the best thing for the club? That's
Yeah.
about it.
100%. I'm not really feeling this signing. This is very MLS 2.0. We talked a lot of MLS 2.0 stuff, and we even mentioned it, but that's definitely some MLS 2.0 stuff right there. So, yeah, very interesting. AK Gaming, I just wanted to say real quick, I appreciate some of these questions. We didn't have time today to get to them, but you definitely brought some great questions. And what I will say to you, man, definitely come back next week, AK Gaming, and we will, because you brought some really good comments and questions. So really appreciate that there, man. Guys, any last words for our listeners here before we sign off?
I got two.
Okay.
Actually. So one is a little bit of random breaking news. This isn't anything big. But that one reporter that was talking about the Matej Orovec stuff put out a tweet that said, it's in English, so he tweeted it in English. He said, "Hi, fans of Philadelphia. The hiring of Orovec was for a game called Online Soccer Manager. You can follow in." So he tagged a bunch of people. He actually tagged you. He tagged you in the tweet.
He tagged me?
Yeah, he tagged you in it. So he put it out a little bit ago here while we've been recording. So that's the first one. So
I appreciate the shout out, but that was a kind of a excuse my language, a jerk off move. No offense there.
Yes,
got us all excited for nothing.
Yeah, got us excited for nothing. So
as we say in Philly, don't be a jerk off, man.
Don't be a jabroni.
But the other thing I had to say, which I was gonna have this be my only thing, but I saw that, so I figured we had to mention that.
I appreciate it.
But the other thing is this coming end of the week and weekend and into next week is the She Believes Cup. And if you are a fan of the U.S. Women's National Team, you're not going to want to miss any of the content that we're going to create on Philly Sports Network. We're going to cover the games. We're going to do previews, recaps, and kind of go in depth into that. I wrote one article earlier this month about the squad that the U.S. Women's National Team called up for it. They brought in some proven and powerful players for this tournament, and they're playing more of a weekend field, I would say, over the last few years. They got Argentina, Brazil, and England, or I'm sorry, not England, Canada in the field here. So it'll be. Is
Katarina Macario on the She Believes Cup roster?
I don't remember off the top of my head, and I wrote the article.
I was really excited about
in that last game. She looked really good on there.
She can bring the sauce. I'll tell you that much.
But yes, so keep an eye out for that over on Philly Sports Network. We will have you covered.
Awesome, man! Awesome. I can't wait for sure. Tim always brings the great insight when it comes to the women game, and I always look forward to awesome stuff. Justin, any last words here, man?
All I can say is, as I've been saying, everyone, stay safe, still wear your mask.
Right.
If you can sign up, get vaccinated. As of Friday, I am now fully vaccinated.
Nice.
So I'm happy, but again, everyone still stay safe. And I've been saying this a lot, and I've said it on every pod for the last month or so, and I'll say it again, and I reemphasize it on Twitter. If anyone is, and again, these have been very tough times for everyone. We're mostly staying at home. Mental health, always takes a back seat. Well, mental health is no joke. And I've said this before. If anyone ever needs to talk, my DMs are always open.
Yep.
As someone who's been to therapy, someone who's dealt with depression and anxiety, I know what it's like to feel like you're suffering and feel like you're suffering alone. But no matter what, there's always someone. There's always someone who wants to listen, even if it's even if I don't know you. Like I said, my Twitter DMs are always open. Send me a message, and I will be glad just to listen, And if you need to vent, you need to get stuff out off your chest, please don't hesitate, because during these times, these very tough times, mental health is the most important, and everyone, just like I said, everyone needs whatever kind of respite they can, whatever helps you relax, whatever works for you. Just like I said, it's talking is always an option, regardless. And I want everyone to know that, I love everyone here. I love all you guys. I love everyone in Union Nation. Like, you guys make me happy, and I hope to make y'all happy. So anytime anyone needs to talk, I'm always around.
Absolutely. We always appreciate the words, man. And definitely, again, guys, we are definitely here for you. So again, appreciate the words there of encouragement for everyone.
Oh, and shout out to our boy Tommy G down in Texas. Tommy, I'm glad you're staying safe during with Texas getting hit real hard with that ice storm.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy said it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's one of the few people that still has power in the area. Tommy, we're hoping the best for you, and hoping you're staying safe, and glad to see that you're doing okay down in what's a crazy time down in Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Please stay safe, Tommy. You've been a great supporter of anything Union, especially in the community. So we hope you're doing okay, and appreciate you listening in, as always, man. As always, guys, that's another episode of DOOP by the River. We appreciate everyone tuning in on Twitter Live, on YouTube Live, or if you're streaming this from wherever you're listening to podcasts. Thank you so much. Don't forget to make sure to follow DOOP by the River on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to Parcero Philly's YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to PSN Radio for not only us, but all of your Philly Sports Network podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin Freiberg, and that is Tim Lovinguth. I go by the name of Ed Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys to DOOP on. We'll talk to you guys very soon.